Hi, I'm Maria Theoharis with Velosos on social media. Welcome back to Organised Style podcast for Sober 50. Thanks for listening, and don't forget to hit subscribe, leave a 5-star rating and write a review. You can find Organised Style podcast, but with an S, not a Z, on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Amazon Music, YouTube, or wherever you get your podcasts.
When you first start sewing, you don't know like how much you don't know about fabrics. So I was like, I need to keep this information because it seems really useful, like about the weight and the content and all that sort of stuff. So I had this Word document, and if you've ever tried to put a picture in a Word document, you'll know that they're all the time, or technical term.
That's Yvette from Stash Hub, and that's where you know her from. Or you might also know her from the SewFruity challenge that's on in June at the moment. So let's get into it. Yvette, thank you for coming on to Organised Style podcast today. I'm really pleased that you sort of put your hand up and said, hey, have we done a podcast yet? And we hadn't. So today we're doing one.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me on, Maria. What happened is we've just zhuzhed up our website. So we put a new thing on the homepage about like Stash Hub as featured on, and then all the podcasts. And I was searching through like all the So Organised Style episodes. I was like, have I really not been on this? I'm chatting to you all the time. So yeah, thanks for having me on.
That's okay. I mean, you did the live on your YouTube account.
Yeah. So we did a Stash Chats, which was my live stream on YouTube. So we talked then, and you also talked to Mel, who I'm really good friends with.
Yes.
So I think we sponsored an episode that Mel was on. I think that's why my brain, I was just like, yep, that one's done. So yeah, I'm really happy to actually be on the show.
I don't know if people have actually had a look at the Stash Chat on YouTube, and I encourage people to go and have a look at them because there's 99 at the moment?
Yeah, there's 99 episodes. I'm currently not booking guests or doing it. I've taken a little break from it for the moment. It's a really interesting opportunity to talk to people, especially like about their stashes, because I think it's a lot of people can feel quite ashamed of what they've got when they're shopping and you buy fabric because you love it, right? And every individual piece you love, but then people say, oh no, that's too much fabric, and you feel like you ought to be ashamed of it. And that's something that I really want to like push back against and be like, you know, there's no such thing as a stash too big. It's like, you know, you just have to have something that works for you. So to talk to different people, find out their different approaches, I thought was really interesting.
At the moment, we're towards the end of June, and you've got SewFruity. So that's an interesting challenge that sort of starts your story off, doesn't it?
I first started sewing like 2019, 2020. So I've really got into dressmaking in 2020. And at the time, Instagram was really, really good for the sewing community. Like hashtags were working. There was loads of challenges. So I found it really, really inspiring to see what other people were making and then get involved in loads of challenges. In 2021, I had just joined in, I think, the Sew Yellow for Endo challenge and the Sew Frugal challenge. And then I kind of just made a joke, like on my stories, like, oh, I've got all these fruit themed fabrics in my stash. Shall I do a fruity challenge? Ha 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 ha. And then I immediately got like 10 DMs from like my sewing friends and people I was chatting to at the time being like, yeah, I'd join that. Yeah, I've got fruit fabric. That would be great fun. So it really started there, like from the community. I don't think I would have even really carried on getting into sewing if it hadn't been for the community, because everyone was so encouraging, and I was like, oh, I really want to make something and then I can share it and it'll be so good. And like on my first ever sewing project, I sewed through my finger and had to go to A&E, to the emergency room. And I was like, I think that could have been enough to put me off. I was so determined, like, because I'd seen everyone having so much fun on Instagram, and I was like, I need to be part of this, that I was like, I'm not letting this put me off. You know, it wasn't that bad. I'll spare you the gory details. It could have put me off, I think, but I was like, no, I need to finish this. And so, yeah, I found the Instagram sewing community, like, really motivated me, and especially during a time when I was very isolated, because, you know, 2020, 2021 was still pretty lockdowny. So yeah, I found it really, really valuable. And so in 2021, I basically just hosted the first SewFruity because a few of my friends were like, yeah, let's do it. And I didn't have any prizes. There was no stakes. I was like, I'm just going to have fun. It was actually called Fruit Salad Sewing. the first time I ran it. That was the hashtag, which was a bit long for a hashtag. So I changed it to SewFruity because I thought it's a bit more obvious what's going on. But yeah, I had about 80 people joining in the first year, and that was with no prizes. So I was like really inspired then to carry it on. And then it's just grown and grown. So this year's the 6th year. Yeah, it's basically, if you don't know about the challenge, so anything with a fruity theme, so it doesn't have to be a garment. It doesn't have to be a fruit print, although that's quite an obvious way to join in, but you could also do fruity colours or fruity embellishments or embroideries or anything that makes it fruity. And yeah, just post anytime during June, tag me at Blossomsandwich. So I'm running it from my personal account because that's where I originally started it. And yeah, and then we've got like loads of prizes. We've probably got at least 40 prizes. So yeah, it's going to be really exciting.
Because I live in Australia, are the prizes UK based or have you got some global ones as well?
Yeah, so we've got prizes from different businesses all over the world, and a lot of them are kind of international as well. We've got a lot of PDF patterns and stuff as well that are available. So yeah, I'd encourage you to join in wherever you are.
Oh, good. I mean, you said about 80 people joined the first time. Do you know what the total, well, what the sort of number of entrants were last year?
I think we had 534 entrants last year. So yeah, it's definitely grown a lot since the first year. Yeah. One of the things I like to do is with stats, like same as with Stash Hub as well. Like I feel like because I'm a scientist, that's my background. So I like to have a little stats, some little graphs. So I like to see what the most popular fruits were and stuff. So always strawberries and lemons are at the top.
The reason I'm chuckling is because I've got a few pieces of lemon print in my stash. And I think one of them is sort of half cut out for the challenge.
I mean, I'm currently wearing lemons. This was one of my previous makes from a previous year of the challenge. So yeah, I mean, I think it partly depends on what's easier to get as well. Like there's always lots of lemon prints available. So yeah, it's just interesting to see because last year I was thinking, oh, I've seen a lot more cherries this year. Cherries will make the top 3, but it's always the same top 3. We'll see if we can break the trend this year.
That'd be interesting. The other thing that you just said was you've got a science background. I only know you from your sewing life, but not from your science background.
Actually, Doug and I met at university. We were both studying biochemistry at the same university. So yeah, that's when we first met. When I left university, worked in research labs for a long time, really until Stash Hub took off. Doug was learning coding at the same time that I was learning sewing, and he's very much a problem solver, and he wanted a project to work on to help learn his coding skills. Like similar with sewing, if you want to learn to do a fly zip, it's much more interesting to make a pair of trousers than it is to just do loads of fly zips. So he was like, I want a project to practice my coding. What's a problem I can solve? And one of the problems was my fabric being everywhere, me having not really a good way to organize it. I had this absolutely heinous Word document at one point where I pasted in the photos because I was shopping online because it was lockdown. So when you first start sewing, you don't know like how much you don't know about fabrics. So I was like, I need to keep this information because it seems really useful, like about the weight and the content and all that sort of stuff. So I had this Word document, and if you've ever tried to put a picture in a Word document, you'll know that they're all the time, technical term. So yeah, Doug was like, oh, there must be an app for this, and ended up building one himself just for me. And then that was so good and so useful. I was like, I'm sure that there are a lot of people that could actually benefit from this. And that was really the start of our business, just problem solving a problem that I personally had. And yeah, Doug being a loving and very useful husband.
So Doug has used his coding learning to develop the basics for Stash Hub. So Stash Hub allows you to add the fabrics and the patterns that you have got in your stash, or even the ones like a wish list as well.
Yeah. So the Stash Hub app has grown a lot since we first launched it. So we originally launched it in 2022. So it's been going nearly 4 years now. So originally it was catalog your fabrics, because that was my issue. that was what I was sort of struggling to keep on top of. But then immediately, even during the beta test, before we actually officially launched, people were saying, oh, but what about patterns? Like I'm always buying the same pattern twice. And I was like, yeah, I can actually see that happening, especially with PDFs. So then we added patterns, which works in basically exactly the same way as the fabrics. And then from there, we made projects. So you can join the fabrics and patterns together to create projects. And now there's just loads of stuff in the app, but it all kind of works in a similar way. So it's really easy to get into and to use. So you can now catalog your entire stash, your your fabrics, your patterns, and your notions. Join them all together into projects. You can save your inspiration. We've got a marketplace where you can sell things on eBay via the app. We've got some stats so you can see your total fabric scores and your top colors and all that. So there's loads of stuff in the app now. But basically what we say is our mission is to help you fall in love with your stash. Because I think it's really hard to, feel inspired by your stash if you don't know what you have. And it can feel really overwhelming if it's all just sort of like shoved away. And then it's a lot of effort to then like rummage through it and see what you've got. So yeah, it's been really fun. And a couple of years ago now, I ended up quitting my lab job. So now Doug and I both work full time on SewFruity, which is really exciting.
Wow. Honestly, I've seen a lot of people referring to Stash Hub and doing their planning on Stash Hub as well. That's really useful because, as you said, you can, I think it's a line drawing and place it on the fabric that you've got. Can you size the fabric print up and down depending on what it actually is? Yeah.
Yeah, so one of the features that's quite a more recent feature, I think we've had it in the app for about a year, but it's really, really cool. It's called Magic Mockup. So you can import the line drawing of the pattern and then you can choose different fabrics, which can be really good if you've got like those fabrics and you're like not sure what to do with them. You can try it, what would it look like as this? What would it look like as this shirt? So it's a really good way to visualize what you could make with your fabrics, and you can just like a little slider so you can make the scale. You just do it by eye, but to how big the print is on your fabric, just to get an idea of that. And it's really, and you can invert it as well. Like if you've got a black fabric, then obviously you can't see the lines, so you can make it so the lines go white, and then you can see the design details.
Good on Doug. He's thought it through, hasn't he? Or have you given him feedback about what it is you want?
I think the magic mock-up was something that people kind of mentioned, and there's like a viral video where there's like a shop maybe in Asia where they've got like just a big massive photo frame and they just put it over the top of the different fabrics, like it's got everything's blacked out apart from a picture of a shirt in the middle. I'm sure you see that. Someone's like, oh, that would be cool. And then Doug's just like, oh yeah, I'll figure out how to do that. So yeah, he's really smart, and he always he loves to learn. So if there's something he doesn't know how to do, that makes him want to do it more. So yeah, we've really take on like lots and lots of feedback. So even though we've been going for 4 years, we're always updating the app. Like at least every month there's something new, or improved. So we actually made a list of things that we wanted to do in 2026 to improve the app. And we've done so well on that list. I think we've mostly done them all already. So like improving the project queue. There's like even a thing where you can, if you don't know what to sew, you can click on it and it will like randomly choose you a project. That's quite exciting.
Wow.
Yeah, there's all sorts of stuff in the app.
How do you manage a work-life balance?
It's fine, honestly. Like because we work on sort of slightly separate aspects of the business, like Doug and I do like the marketing and just the fun chatting to people on the podcasts. So we've got our own separate wheelhouses, so we're not like stepping on each other's toes, which is really good. And then we'll have meetings. We'll often like go to the coffee shop so it's like a meeting and it's not us just sitting at home chatting. If we've got changes that we want to do, we'll discuss how we both expect it to be and what the brief is, if you like. Us both working for the business has made us very like flexible, so we end up doing a lot of cat sitting now because we can work from home. But yeah, it's really good. I mean, obviously, with running a business, there are times when it's stressful. Yeah, we don't have big fights about it, so you get to spend a lot more time together, which is really nice.
Oh, that's good. We're in the month of June, and the tasks or the goals that you wanted to set by the end of the year, you've said that you've almost done them. So that's really pushing it hard, and I think you both should be really pleased with how you've progressed.
Yeah, I think one of the things that really motivates us is like our community. And like obviously when we receive like requests from people, like, oh, wouldn't it be so great if we had a project queue and you could drag and drop the projects up and down? We know like that sounds like a great idea. And now we also know that our existing user base is really interested in that because they've asked for it. And we want to give back to them because obviously they're supporting us to both have this opportunity to run the business. So yeah, and it just to see the difference that Stash Hub has made like in their lives. You know, people will message us and say like, you know, I was feeling completely overwhelmed and now I'm actually really excited to sew. So I think that really motivates us, not just to be like, oh well, you know, the app's done now, we can sit back. It's like, you know, we've got a whole community of people that this is really helping, and if we can make the app better, then we can help them even more.
You've also touched on community quite a few times, and I know that you're involved in local community events as well.
So I wear a lot of hats, a lot of sewing hats, which is quite ironic because I'm not really a hat person. But I also help organise Surrey Sews, which is my local sewing group. So that was really driven by Mel. So if you don't know about Mel or haven't listened to Mel's episode, we can link back to that.
Yeah.
But yeah, she's absolutely lovely. She's very community minded. She does a lot of volunteering. Yeah, she's just so generous with her time and her skills. So I originally met Mel because she was running a refugee sewing project,
yes,
which sadly is been closed down since. But so she was collecting fabrics for this project, and I was running Stash Hub. And I was like, you know, obviously when people are cataloguing their stash, they're going to discover fabrics that they don't really want to keep, because a lot of people, when they're doing the process, they'll hit a and they'll be like, I cannot be bothered to add this to my Stash Hub. So I'll say to them, like, if you can't be bothered to just upload it, can you be bothered to sew it? So then they'll end up with a kind of collection of stuff that they think, maybe this isn't the fabric for me. So I discovered that Mel needed fabric and there were people that needed to get rid of fabric. So I was kind of connected those up, and I managed to, you know, get loads of donations through to Mel, which was amazing. And this refugee project was brilliant. She had like, you know, 30 people all sewing. Yep. So they were obviously getting through a lot of fabric, and a lot of them had skills as well. Like they worked as machinists, you know, in the countries that they'd originally come from and things. Yep. So that was really good. That was how I first connected with Mel. And that was about 3 years ago. And then Mel was saying, oh, it would be really nice to have like local. And I think obviously you run the Everything Frocktails page as well. Yeah. So I think Mel was really interested in that and doing like a Frocktails event in the future. But she was like, let's start with, you know, let's just get some people together, see who's in that area and if they're interested in sewing. So the first event we did was hosting a picnic in the park, because we were like, well, we don't need to book anything, we don't need to pay anything, we'll just see who shows up. It was in July, it was a nice day. So we were like, we'll just see who comes up. And we had like at least 10 people come, and it was really nice. And some of those people still come to our like regular socials as well, which is really nice. But yeah, it just grew from there really. Like now we do regular socials where we book like a church hall and everyone brings their machines and we all sew together. So that's in Woking in Surrey, if anyone's listening to this and thinking, oh, Surrey Sews, that might be near me. But yeah, it's really good. It's a really nice way to connect with people in person, because you know, sewing can be quite an isolating hobby where you're just at home on your own. So it is really nice to meet up with people in person. And I usually go round and do a little reel of what everyone's making. So I'll go and bother everyone and say, oh, will you be on the Instagram? It's optional. So don't feel like everyone on there has been forced to do it. But yeah, it's really good fun. I usually don't really get any sewing done because I'm too busy chatting to everyone or eating cake. Baker as well, which I think leads on to Sophisticated, which is our afternoon tea event. That is happening in October, 17th of October in Woking. Mel's got a catering company, so they're making all the scones and the sandwiches and sausage rolls and cakes. It's going to be delicious. We're going to have a catwalk and a raffle. So I'm really excited for that. That's the third time that we've run this event as well. So I think that's going to be, again, even bigger and better than it has been before.
I think the good thing with Sophisticated is last year it wasn't just in Woking, but there was a virtual aspect to it as well, wasn't there?
Yeah, so we did an online challenge last year. We're not going to do it this year,
No.
just because it's like the
You've tried it
work and
once.
running it, and now, yeah, now Instagram is, you know, doesn't love hashtags anymore. It's made it a bit more difficult. But yeah, I mean, obviously, if people want to sort of, you know, dress up in their afternoon tea outfits and tag us, and that'll be really fun. If you can join, that'll be amazing as well to see lots of people and meet people in person. We've got loads of people that have booked that have never been to any of our events, so it'll be really fun to meet new people because it's an afternoon tea. It's in the afternoon, so if you're not a night owl, if you want to get home before it gets dark, yeah, it's nice and sociable hours. Don't have to get up early, don't have to stay out late. That works for me.
The timing of it compared to, you know, having other sewing events that you can go to, so that, you know, Surrey Sews is during the day, Sophisticated is what, the afternoon, you know, lunchtime afternoon. If it's a frock towel, sometimes, you know, they're only on at night. Some of them are not on during the day. So I think those two events that Surrey Sews puts together are really helpful for people who don't want to be out at night too.
Yeah, yeah, and there's like Woking's quite a good place because it's really well connected on the train. There's like a quite a major train station here because it's a commuter town. People commute from Woking into London, which is what I used to do when I worked in the lab. And then, yeah, there's loads of hotels here and stuff. So, yeah, I think it'll be really good to get people together. And there are a couple of like online sewing communities, like Virtual Sewing Room and Sew Virtual, where people will meet and sew together on Zoom. And they're all coming to meet in person at Sophisticated, which I think is going to be really good fun.
I think they'll be really excited to no longer just be a face on screen. They'll be there and be able to touch and feel clothing.
That's something that's like a given at really any sewing event, isn't it? Where people say, "Oh, look, do you like my new dress?" And immediately everyone's feeling the fabric. I think that's just a boundary that's come down between sewists because, you know, we all know that you've got to sample the fabric.
You do. That's right. So, Yvette, earlier on, you were talking about how people's stashes can impact them. You know, people have a certain expectation about stashes. What's your view, or what do you tell people when it comes to managing your stash or organising your stash?
My message is really like, you have to figure out what works for you. And I think with like the way that social media is at the moment, you have to have like a really strong angle and be like, you're doing it wrong, or this is the maximum amount of fabric you should ever have, or something like that. But I really, really don't believe in that. So that's not ever my message. You know, like if for you having 10 fabrics in your stash is what's perfect for you and anything else is overwhelming, that's what your stash needs to look like. If you like having 500 fabrics and you know you've got a way to keep on top of that and that is really inspiring for you, then that is your stash. And it's like just you know, kind of knowing that different people are inspired in different ways is really, really important to me. And like, I don't want anyone to ever feel ashamed. Like, you know, if I say, oh, you know, Maria's got 10 fabrics and then they think, oh God, like, why have I got so many fabrics? Like, it's really not relevant, like what other people's stashes are like. You know, if I just don't want people to feel overwhelmed, because I know how easy it is, especially with, you know, the sales and the, you know, the new drops of fabric all the time. It's so easy to be like, yes, I'm going to keep buying fabrics and I love this and I love this. But you can end up like buying things that maybe don't suit you, or you actually don't enjoy sewing. Like I have been through phases where I'll buy loads and loads of viscose, but really I'm such a cotton sewist. Like I love a crisp and to wear as well.
Yeah.
I just find it so much more comfortable and it presses and it behaves. And it's just lovely, like a much nicer experience. So then I'm like, why am I still buying all these viscoses? So it is a process. There's like a lot of self-learning, and with organizing it as well. Some people are very visual, so they like to have it on display. Like I know the Kallax units are very popular.
Yep.
Some people love to have them open so you can see all your fabric. So when you come into your room, you're like, wow, that one's just caught my eye, I'm going to start sewing that now. Whereas other people find me overstimulating. Like, so my fabrics all here just in this cupboard behind me. So when I open the cupboard, they're all vertically stacked and they're all visible, but I can close that cupboard, so I'm not constantly looking at fabrics and thinking, oh gosh, why am I not sewing that fabric? Like, and sometimes it's a process of trial and error, which again I know people hate to hear, but it's just seeing what works for you. But yeah, my top tips for actually having an organized and functional stash is to make sure that everything is accessible, because if you've got stuff that's shoved away, you're going to not feel motivated to use it, and then it's just like taking up space, like in the loft or under the bed. So I really love having containers, because then even if you've got like a deep cupboard, you can easily just pull out the whole container and then get to what's behind.
Yep.
And also, you know, if you need to move or change it all around, because things are in that container rather than just sort of like loosely stacked on the shelf, it makes it much easier. So last year I hosted this kind of course called SewSorted, which I shared all my like organizing kind of tips and ideas, and that was really good. And people like shared their ideas as well, so that was really fun. But yeah, I think some of the things that people can really struggle with is, you know, buying faster than they sew, which, you know, is always going to be an issue, right? But then, you know, if you know what you really like and you know, buy stuff that you're actually going to use, then I don't think it matters if you've got a lot of it, if it's stuff that, but if you're keeping stuff that you know you're never going to sew, that's just then like becoming clutter in your space. So that's why, like, kind of last week I was encouraging people to do their destashing, because I think it can really, like, having fabrics in and out, I think really can help bring you fresh inspiration. And you know, sometimes, like, and it can be like a grieving process, because you have to let go of the money that you spent on it, the fabric itself, and the idea that you originally had. Like, you know, if you thought, oh, I'm going to make this dress, and then you're like, you know, I'm not going to any galas ever, so I don't actually need this particular fabric. But someone else could use it, right? So it's like a win-win. It makes your stash less overwhelming, and it makes someone else's stash more inspiring. So that's something that I really encourage.
Can I just say thank you to you personally, because I've been trying to get my sewing room organized, and I was looking at one of your reels where you have everything in a container that you can actually see each piece. So they're sort of sitting on a side. And so I can now, as you said, I can go to that particular plastic bin, take the lid off, and see everything that is there. I couldn't see that before. And so earlier this year, I went with some sewing friends to Bangkok because we wanted to buy fabric. And as you said, I knew that I was only going to get cotton or linen because I'd already done a bit of a cleanup and thought, you know what, I'm not going to get, as you said, a viscose or a polyester. It does nothing for me. So thank you so much for all of that advice.
Yeah, no worries. I know exactly which reel you mean as well. And like it, because if you stack things vertically in a box, like books on a bookshelf, it doesn't take up any more space, but you can see everything. And if you want to get one thing out, you don't have to move everything else out as well. It removes that barrier of effort, which I think is really important, because you don't want your stash to feel like effort. You want it to just be there ready for you when you're feeling inspired. You don't want to have to be like, you know, wading through stuff and looking for stuff or buying the same thing twice, or, you know, it's just, you know, you want it there and ready so that you can actually crack on with the sewing, which is what the hobby really is, not sorting out fabric all the time.
That's right. Yeah. So again, thank you so much for taking the effort with you and Doug to develop Stash Hub so that it sort of, you know, the reels or the posts that you put up are a good reminder of, okay, I could do this. So like, and again, this is personal. I don't know how everyone else feels about it, but when I'm in between projects and I see these prompts that you put out, it's like, oh, okay, I can do that next. So I don't have to do everything all at once. I can do it in small bits and reflect on, okay, that worked or that didn't work.
Yeah, I think that's such a good point, because I do think especially people that have been sewing for a long time, when they hear about Stash Hub, they're like, oh, I wish this was like 30 years ago, because now I feel like I've got too much and it's like beyond help and that's it for me. but like, you know, doing it a bit at a time, I think for anything is really, really important. You know, like if you had a really complicated sewing project, that's how you'd approach it, right? Like if you had to make a trench coat or something, it's not like you do all the steps all at once. You know, start with, I don't know, assemble the shoulders, like do that one step, and then, you know, you've achieved something. So that's my top tip if you wanted to start using Stash Hub as well. Like pick just a few things to add. If you're going to start with the cataloging, I'd say pick the things that you're feeling currently most inspired by, like especially if you've just bought something, it's really easy to add it from the website because you can use magic input and you can just put in the URL, the web link from where you bought it, and it will pull the information off the website, so you don't have to sit and type it all out. So that's like a really good way to get into it, to just put in that new stuff that's inspiring you and then create projects, because we've got an amazing project complete little animation that gives you like the confetti. I love it. Like every time you finish a project, it's such a celebration. I've just reached 200 projects in my Stash Hub, and I was just like, well done. I know there are people that have done loads more than that in their Stash Hub, which is like such a nice feeling as well, that they've done all that sewing and then they've got a record of it, so they can, you know, go back and look at it and check the details and what size they made, and you know, all that. I think is really, really helpful. And it's like a little kind of, it's your legacy in a way, isn't it? Your sewing legacy. It's really nice.
Yeah, and it's nice that you've got those celebratory milestones built into Stash Hub as well.
Yeah, I mean, it celebrates every project, because I feel like every project's like a big achievement. But when I was, you know, 197, I was like, oh, I'm going to do 200 soon. That's going to feel so good.
Exactly. Yeah. Yvette, thank you for, again, prompting me to get you on the podcast, because I really wanted to have you on here. And it's been a great chat to see how motivated you and Doug are in problem solving for us who are sewing and just want to keep sewing.
Yeah, it's been such a pleasure to chat to you, Maria. It's been really good fun.
And I hope that we can catch up one day in real life too.
Yes, definitely.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll hopefully catch you on your travels.
Yeah, thank you. Oh, that'll be good. Great. So have a great day and see you again.
Yeah, chat soon. Bye.
Bye. This episode of Organised podcast was both video and audio produced by me, Maria Theoharis, in my sewing room with the permission of Yvette, sound by Knief on YouTube. Many thanks for the ongoing monthly support of the podcast Patreon contributors. Their paid Patreon membership enables me to create these video and audio podcasts for you for free. And again, thanks for listening, and don't forget to hit subscribe, leave a 5-star rating and write a review. You can find So Organised Style Podcast, but with an S, on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Amazon Music, YouTube, or wherever you get your podcasts. And yes, if you live in Australia and decide to purchase your own Mimiquin custom dress form, I'll be your body scanner for Mimiquin UK. Contact Mimiquin UK directly. Make sure you go back and listen to our free over 50 episodes on So Organised Style. I look forward to joining you in your sewing room next time. Stay safe, everyone.
If you like the show, please take a moment to rate, review, and subscribe. It really does help the show to grow. Thank you for listening.